Welcome to the Park and Recs Commission meeting on June 3rd, starting at 6:34. I'm Claire, and I will be chairing the meeting tonight. Do we need to go around? No. Okay. So we called the meeting to order, public forum. I'm assuming we have people in the audience that would like to speak. You can come to the microphone, name, address, and we like to limit our comments to 3 minutes.
Hi everyone, I'm Mandy Sorrentino at 249 Driftwood Lane in Guilford. I had two things I just wanted to say. First, I wanted to compliment Rick and his team for all of their help at Little Folks Fair with the stage that we used, the showmobile. It was fantastic. The feedback was wonderful, and it really made our event extra special this year, so thank you. My second is about the splash pad. I'm just looking forward to getting an update on where we are with the feasibility study today, and reiterate, I continue to be approached by numerous parents super excited about the possibility of this in town, and so I'm looking forward to hearing about that. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak?
Hi, I'm Kimberly Schmidt. I'm at 140 Wild Rose in Guilford, and I'm here with my daughter Veronica. She's 7, Henrik is 4, and Rowan is 1. And we currently travel to Old Saybrook for the splash pad and to East Haven. It is a huge draw for young families. Two huge reasons for my family. My son has tubes in his ears, so he cannot go into any fresh water, including Lake Quannapoug. So that is out for our entire family. We can go to Jacob's Beach, but there's a bit of a safety concern with the littler ones. Thank you, though, for allowing us to now use the life preservers. That's been a huge help, but it still is really tricky for this age. So splash pads are a huge draw for young kids. I mean, my 7-year-old plays in it and has just as much fun as my 1-year-old. And I can relax a little bit, and I can get in it too, but they just have so much fun. So I wanted to say, yeah, see this kid, he's crazy. He is going to benefit. And so I would love to see Guilford have a splash pad as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think microphones are a huge draw too.
You can come take my seat. Anyone else wish to speak?
Hi, Erin Ethier, 34 North Madison Road, also coming to speak in support of the splash pad. I am thrilled to hear that it's, as far as a feasibility study and the advances, it's something that, you know, has certainly, I can't even count how many parents I've had the conversation with. I have 2 children. My oldest will be 7 also, and my youngest is 4, and my 7-year-old for the past 3 years, all she's wanted to do for her birthday is go to the splash pad, and I will take the day off from work. We'll drive to Old Saybrook. They talk about it in the off season. It comes up almost as often as Disney World, which is a lot. So I am just so in favor of this. I think it would be wonderful for the community, and very supportive and appreciative that we're discussing it at this level.
Explain to me how you have access to the splash pad in Saybrook as a Guilford resident.
I park and access.
Okay, so there's no gate or anything that
There's not.
No presentation of an identification.
There's not. I've never been asked.
Never been asked.
So.
Second question: how big of a facility do they have there? How many fountains? How many?
Maybe 6 to 8 or so. I'm totally ballparking here.
Oh, that's fine.
Maybe it's like a tennis court and a half long or so. A tennis court kind of a shape.
Okay.
Maybe it is smaller.
The East Haven one's pretty big. The Old Saybrook one's pretty small. Maybe 6 is probably
They
big.
have 3
They
or
like 2 water
ground.
squirter, the rainbows, and then the little
The ground ones, the
water
stopper squirters.
Yeah.
And then there's the playground nearby as well.
Is it monitored by any town employees? No. You just go when you wish and
At risk.
enjoy.
They
At risk.
have hours. They have hours at your own risk.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it a continuous flow, or is it? Do you have to push a button to activate the water?
It's a push a button,
Okay.
but there's some, I think, are there some that go just a trickle? But it's primarily push button for the main water kind of attractions for the kids. And it goes for a little while after the button, so it's not like it has to be continual, like every 30 seconds, it's a
Okay.
few minutes.
Okay. Cool, all right, thank you.
And I was gonna say, the East Haven one is also, as long as you can't park in the town, their parking lot, 'cause you don't have a pass, but if you park on their street parking, then you can just access it as well. I mean,
Where is the one in East Haven located?
It's right on Cozy Beach Ave, it's
Cozy
right
Beach
across
Ave?
the street from the beach.
Okay. Field trip.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Stevens. I live at 12 Surrey Lane. I'm just also here in support of the splash pad. I have a 1-year-old that's very active, like this little young one, and I have a 3-year-old. And I took them to the splash pad in Old Saybrook last summer, and I know that there's splash pad trips in our future for this summer. So it'd be nice if it was right here rather than having to drive those distances. So.
Now I'll ask you a question.
Yes.
Is it busy? I mean, is it shoulder to shoulder people? Or?
Well, I took my nephew a while ago when I went to East Haven. That one was busier on the day that we happened to go. When I went with my daughter last summer, it wasn't quite as busy. There was people on the playground, there was some people in the splash pad, but it wasn't like you were fighting people in the splash pad or anything
Okay.
like that.
Do they have hours there posted as to when the
Yeah, there's like a
available?
sign with like general rules and hours. But I think other than that, it's not really monitored by anybody.
Where is the one in Saybrook located?
It's located in a park, so you drive down it kind of looks like a residential street.
Trask Road.
Trask Road?
Yeah, and at the
Okay.
end, there's the splash pad, and then there's some, I think a field something, and then there's a playground to the right of it.
Okay.
And there's like a shade structure with picnic tables.
Another field trip.
Clinton has a splash pad if you don't want to go.
Yeah, there's
far
at the
down
beach.
at their beach.
Who's?
Clinton is at
Clinton.
Town Beach.
At Town Beach, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's restricted because
You have to be a town resident.
you have to be a town resident in order to get to the parking lot, otherwise you have to hike half a mile to
Well,
get into it.
If you're going on a field trip, I just thought you could look.
Oh, no,
You
I
didn't
could-
need to use it.
He wants to try it.
I'll stop and get a lobster roll and go down there and get
Yeah.
it.
Anyone else wish to speak?
Hi, my name is Samantha Moss. I'm at 130 Millstone Drive. I'm also here for the splash pad. As a preschool teacher, I fully support anything that will get kids outside and moving around versus at home in front of a screen. And so while I haven't gone to these splash pads, the idea of one sounds phenomenal. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak about anything? No?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
We are going to move on to correspondence. There was one from Christine. Ouch. Was this the one that you were? Okay, so we're going to wait to the bottom for that one. And then there were no other correspondences forwarded or received? That was the only one I had. In here. Okay.
Before everybody leaves, are there any updates for the splash pad for folks? I know it's on the agenda, so.
Are you going to fill them in, Mandy, on updates, or?
I can.
Okay.
Is there any way we can do it now, so?
Yeah. If you guys want to come back and we can change it. Yeah. I can. All right, so can I get a motion to move agenda item 7E splash pad to before approval of minutes?
I'll make the motion to move agenda item 7E splash pad up in order.
I'll second it.
Okay, so splash pad. The splash pad subcommittee did meet after our last commission meeting, and we discussed about fundraising and what features we'd like to see. We've gotten information from other people about what splash pads they visited, not just in Connecticut, but outside of Connecticut, and what features they saw, and how we would like to see ours. It was a consensus that we would like more of a natural looking features, not those bright, big, giant monster heads, buckets, or anything like that. We are still waiting on the feasibility study. We're looking at possibly switching to another company. Going back and checking with Emmy O'Brien, who we met with in the very beginning, to see if they could do a feasibility study. But we're really still at a standstill because we haven't done the study. But the subcommittee is definitely hard at work, making plans, researching things, whether we use the little spigots on the floor, or if we have big features, what it looks like. So, John, do you have questions about splash pads?
No, I have some discussion to add to this.
Okay.
My daughter lives up in Clinton, Massachusetts, and they have a splash pad in their town. I talked to, I guess it would be the counterpart for Ellen at their Park and Recreation Department, and she was telling me the pros and cons of what they've done at their splash pad. She is sending me a copy of their summary of what they did in their analysis of what they put together for their pad, the construction costs and whatever, the pros and the cons of what they used, and how they handled the fundraising. They did do fundraising for it, and how they did the cost of through the midst of how they. The one thing that she strongly recommended is that they used a concrete pad, and she said, never again. They're going to actually rip up the concrete pad and find another bedding for it, because slippage, concrete is unforgiving. And she said there's a company, she's going to send me the name of a company from Rhode Island that specializes in making these. And she also referred me to the Parks and Rec Department up in Leominster, which is the next town north and west, and they have installed a splash pad in their town. And so I have the name of the person to call up. Unfortunately, that person has just retired, so they have not replaced that individual, but I will do some research on that one as well.
Can I ask where the splash pad is? Is it near a beach?
That's a good question.
Is it on a playground? Is it?
What they did is this, is that think of downtown Guilford. They have a park, and similar to the Green, but it's in a neighborhood, and it was a park that was underutilized, and they installed the splash pad there near an existing playground. The one other thing that they did, she did say that they do, is that you can reserve the splash pad for parties, okay? That if you do so, that they will bring out a tent and provide cover for the time that your rental is in effect. If it rains, you get your money back. They don't want to be hard enough to say that, sorry, you lost your. As a matter of fact, I was told by my spouse that my daughter is doing this for our grandchild up there on the 22nd of June. So hopefully I might be able to get there. I haven't either, so I'm getting it through hearsay, the grapevine, that this is happening. But I actually, I like taking these road trips. I like checking out the other facilities. I did that when we were investigating the dog park, went to other dog parks in the area. So I think I will take a road trip on a couple of these to see how they.
So just an FYI, on Trask Road in Old Saybrook, theirs is their Park and Rec, and there's a sign. Mm-hmm. It's an open park, so you pull in, it's a residential road, you pull in, there's a little bathroom, there's the splash pad, there's a playground, there's tennis courts, and there's a baseball field. It's not fenced in, it's open. It does say for Old Saybrook residents. Mm-hmm. There are times on it. It's closed during certain times for their summer camp. Is supposed to come down and use it whenever they want, or use the whole park whenever they want, not just necessarily the splash pad. But it is used by anyone and everyone.
Well, the other thing that in Clinton, Mass, what they do up there is that it's on a municipal water supply system, so there is no risk of draining a well or having restricted hours during a drought. They actually have two reservoirs in town. One of them is dedicated to Boston, and the other one is dedicated to them. But she did say that They do have timers on the water. It's not a continuous flow. They recycle once, and then it goes into a holding, recycles, and then it is expelled into the, I hate to use the word sewer system, but the drainage system that they have there.
Claire, let me just throw, like, what's the, I knew you could spend $5 million on this, like, what do we ballpark, like, how much money we talking?
Well, it would be up to the subcommittee on how they design it, but I can tell you that they're not looking at putting 20 different, they're thinking small. So like 6 to 8 features and ground features, so that wouldn't expel a ton of water. We don't want any buckets, so that's not gonna fill. So, I mean, it's low water.
Can you give me like just a ballpark?
I think, what did we, his design and everything was,
His design was like 18,000.
Right.
But I don't know what
I
the
think the last time we talked about one, I think they spent 3.
They can be designed a variety of
Yeah.
different ways. It all depends on what features you want. I
Yeah.
had a conversation with Peter at Emmy O'Brien, and he said, you know, you can get ground spouts that are $500. You can get elaborate features that are $15,000.
Yeah, so Paul, so let's.
So I think we were looking at anywhere between 150 and 300 for the whole project.
For the whole thing.
150 grand to 300 grand.
And that was the cost we were given when Peter said it, like, if we went to a one-stop shop, like one contractor to do that. But
And you believe you're going to be able to raise that kind of money?
I think so.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
They have some eager parents.
Yeah, okay. Another thing is, like, I know we talked about it, but is Jacobs Beach, you know, I'm just for city water, is Jacobs Beach, is that totally out of the question
No.
now?
No, we had one company look at all 3 places that we thought, Jacobs, Chittenden, and Bittner. And out of those 3, he recommended Bittner for a variety of reasons. But he did not say absolutely no to Jacobs.
Yeah. It just seems like, and I'm not an engineer, I don't know, but it just seems like when you start drawing up a well, you just like, you guys a whole host of problems. I mean, what do you guys, would you, where would you rather see it, at Jacobs or?
Jacobs.
Yeah, I know, it's just like,
It makes the most sense, but I think there's also more risk with storms and storm
Yeah.
surge. But, I mean,
it's definitely not off the table.
no.
yeah, see, I have in my head, and I'm probably wrong, that I don't think people are gonna drive up the Bittner, but maybe I'm wrong.
I'm in favor of a splash pad for the younger, but I'm not in favor of having it at Bittner. It
Yeah,
just seems,
I have a
it seems
problem
just
with that.
out in nowhere. And I don't know,
Would you guys rather have it at
I'd rather
Jacobs?
see that Jacobs, and I think it's just a design question, and I think if you have this large storm coming, you need to cap your experiences and maybe winterize anywhere else. And then maybe think about where you're putting it at Jacobs, that you're not gonna hit, you know, when the waters come up, I think they come up a certain direction, when they flood. I think Jacobs makes sense for a lot of reasons. Your beach package that we charge there already.
Yes, I mean, so, I mean, let's say we have a storm, so what's gonna happen to the splash pad?
Depending on where it is at Jacobs. Because if you have it closer to the playground, it was the mulch and the marsh covering it. If you have it closer to the beach, the sand covering it. Not to say that most of the heads can be popped out and cleaned. So it's a matter of getting our guys down there to clean it or to cap them or.
Yeah, I'm just having a hard time, like, so if a storm comes, so what? I mean, it's not like.
Well, the storms, that wasn't the only problem. There was parking was an issue because it's already a crowded parking lot now.
Yeah.
It was also where are we gonna put it? Because if we put it closer to the playground.
Yeah.
Then you have issues with keeping the electricity up. It would have to be certain feet, I can't remember, above sea level, and then we have the wind, so making sure that that's secure.
Yeah.
If you have it closer to the bathrooms where it would make sense, then you're blocking handicap spots, the ADA walkway, taking away the grass that was just put in that people utilize all the time. So it was more of a location on where it would sit best. And then it was the question of, it is city water, who's gonna pay for that every year? Is that gonna come out of our budget every year, or are we gonna ask this group of parents to raise money every year to pay for that water?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right. So, I mean, it's definitely not off the table.
Oh, good, okay, that's good to hear.
But the feasibility study made sense with all the reasons that the engineer has said to check out Vintner.
Can the splash pad be down by the playground at Vintner? I'm just not liking it right where it is.
Oh, up top.
Up top. Yep. Well, in the outfield.
There is one other, well, there's like 3 issues with this splash pad of how they get designed. Some of them have what's called flow-through, where the water just goes through and it goes down a drain. It's gone. I believe Clinton is like that, if I remember right. And it's just, you don't reuse it. Another one is you recapture it and reuse it for one of the, like at Vintner, one of the suggestions was that we may be able to reuse it and use it for irrigation. So the water goes into a tank and then it irrigates the field, so it is a second use. The other one, which is the most expensive, is recycling it, and then you have to have filtration systems. At least one of our staff would have to be a certified pool operator. You have to treat it like a swimming pool. So someone has to learn how to treat it with bleach and so on, disinfectants and all that kind of stuff.
And then we have to have a shower nearby, too.
You gotta have a shower nearby. Which sounds crazy, because you're going to a splash pad where it's splashing on you, and you gotta take a shower before you go in.
The thing is, too, is, I mean, there's so many people down there watching the place. I mean, you got the people taking the passes and all this. There's a ton of people already down there taking.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
There are a lot of good reasons. The hardest thing might be the environmental reasons in terms of where does it go and worrying about storms and all that. But those are all the things I think that the committee has to
On the
debate.
backside up by I'm sorry, Judy, about on the backside up by like where the gazebo area, like behind the basketball, that sort of like that back right field, behind the playground,
By the pavilions?
behind the pavilions, or to the right of the pavilions, like, there's the basketball hoop there, and then there's like, isn't there grass?
Volleyball and
Grass in the valley?
That's the area that gets most prone to flooding, because the flood comes across from the marsh, not from the beach. So when there are those big Paraguay high tides, or the big storms, it comes across that way. So that'd be probably the least good place to
I've
put
seen
it.
the one out in Old Saybrook. I didn't walk on it, but it really doesn't take that much. It doesn't take up a lot of area.
It doesn't take a
No.
lot of area.
I mean, it depends how big you want it. And
Yeah.
that's
It's
more
all-
what
it's
we're
all
comparing
question
ours to.
of- Yeah, it's all a question of the size. I mean, even if you were to look at Jacobs again, if you're facing the water, there's a new shade structure that seems there's like a nice new decking. If you were to go to the left of that, where I forget that game of the ball, that pit was there.
Oh, Gaga pit.
I mean, you could be talking about something maybe slightly larger than the Gaga pit you placed and placing it in the same space, so parents can sit in your new shade structure and watch, and you're close to those playgrounds. I think there's options, it's just all a question of design and what makes the most sense in terms of, all the
The
trade-offs.
parking issue, like you're gonna have it at Vintner or you're gonna have it at Jacobs, I don't really think that there's, I don't think there's one more positive than the other.
No, I-
Vintner's crowded, I mean, a
But
lot.
not in the summertime.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's when it would be used,
Right.
June to,
But don't you think it'd be the
August.
same crop of people that are using the beach that are using splash pad?
yeah, but if you think of June to August, there's no sports going on, so there's nobody in the parking lot there.
Yeah.
Dinner's quiet in the summer, quieter.
But,
Well,
I mean,
now we have a
there's
disc golf course, you never know how many people
Well,
are gonna
hopefully
show.
that's gonna be busy.
Bring your little
Down
ones
by
with
the
you.
beach, can you cycle salt water and then you don't have to worry about.
That'd be nice if that was a way to pump it out of there.
But I mean, definitely nothing has been closed off, no decision has been made.
If we're gonna do it, Jacobs Beach is like, that's how you deal. The kids are gonna go down, they're gonna be on the beach. Everybody's gonna be down there anyway. It's like, now you gotta make a special trip to go to the splash pad. You go down to Jacobs Beach, you hop in the water, you got the splash pad, you got the pavilions, you got,
That was the original
Yeah.
one. In the beginning. Anything else to add to it, Rick?
No, I just, I'll try to get a hold of Peter Wallace tomorrow and see if we can follow up with him. It's just unfortunate, the person we were working with, we're just not getting any responses, and so I think we gotta maybe look somewhere else.
Mandy, any updates on your end that you want to share with anyone?
For me, not really. I mean, I had a conversation with Peter about optionality, and I think it really just comes down to, you can build a splash pad anywhere, it's just a matter of deciding what's going to be best for your community, and then setting your, the budget you want to work within, and selecting the features and design appropriately. He did tell me all of their parts are built to order, so there's a lot of optionality in terms of
everybody can see.
Did he have access to what we were looking at, the natural, the stones and?
He did not with his people, but he did say if we wanted to go the direction of a very like natural type splash pad, there's like we have looked at like Brooklyn, I think it's called Brooklyn Bridge Park in Manhattan. Really has a lot of like natural features, natural colors. I think it's fit nicely in either location in Guilford. And the really neat feature about that particular park is it's surrounded and kind of has boulders integrated into it, and so it can be used as climbing structures in the off season too. So if you're spending this amount of money, it's not just a 3-month thing you can use. You can use it year round. The children can really climb and explore. And he said that he could recommend some landscape architects that have done that type of work that we could talk to start looking at designs in that space, which is really attractive. I think that's nicely in Guilford.
Yeah. Okay. So we will be back, hopefully with a feasibility study and some more information on design next month.
And the feasibility study, is that just for Bittner Park to see if we put it there? Is it feasibility study, we're going to talk about all different areas?
We would like it to be both.
Yeah.
Bittner and Jacob, so
Yeah.
we want to make sure when we get our price that it's including both, because nothing is off the table.
Yeah.
So it would make sense to do it at once. So
Yeah, okay.
that we need to put that on the list for Peter. All right. So we will be going back to approval of minutes.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Bye. Ouch. Was there any changes or anything? Conversation about last month's meeting? I didn't have any changes. Okay, can we get a motion to approve the May 6th minutes?
I'll make a motion. Oh, go ahead. Motion to approve the minutes from the April?
May 6th.
May 6th. May 6th meeting.
Second?
I'll second it.
All right. Okay, any further discussion on that? All good?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, review and approval of expenditures for May. Any questions on that? And Rick, again, it's not about the bills, but I see it on there, like Q, the crosswalk. Any updates on whether it has to be changed?
We have a purchase order out to do that, to put the to make it
Yeah.
audible, yeah. Yeah, we have a purchase order for a company to do it.
Perfect.
Just waiting for them to come in and trying to get them to get it done before we open full-time, because it's going to take them 6 hours, they say.
Okay.
My guess it's going to be out of commission for that period of time, so I'd like to get it done before we open June 14th, which is like, 15th, which is,
2 weeks.
yeah.
Here.
They have the purchase order.
What was that? For the crosswalk up at Lake Quantico, to make it so you can hear it, not just press the button. I didn't see anything on here that I was.
The dog waste bath, is that for the year?
Not necessarily. I mean, we do get them in bulk, but, you know.
Does it go to multiple locations?
We do. We have a Jacobs, Green, Chittenden, Chaffinch, Dog Park, yeah, Adams. Yeah, we got them in a lot of places.
But those aren't cheap.
Well, you know, I asked, you know, there's the new ordinance for one-time use, you know, and so I asked Matt about that. He said, well, that's going to be for plastic bags are one-time use only. I said, well, I think these are.
Yeah, I don't think you're reusing them, no.
But that's more for like grocery bag stuff, so I think that we can still get them. I did try to find out if they're biodegradable ones, and we haven't been able to find any.
Any other questions? Comments, concerns? Okay, motion to approve the May bills.
Make a motion to approve the May bills. In
Second.
the amount of $130,832.25.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, just moving right along. Department of reports. Rick.
So I'll just highlight a couple. Number 5, excuse me, Matt Hoey and Brian McGlone and I met with 2 real estate agents who were proposing a couple things regarding trash in front of those stores on Whitfield Street. They're proposing that they do some fundraising for what's called a Big Belly. You might have seen them at some airports, they have them. Madison has a couple. Brian and I went and looked at them with Deer Park's staff over there. Basically what it is, it's solar-powered compactor. And so it's a trash barrel, it looks pretty attractive. And you put your trash in it, it compacts it, it can hold up to 5 to 8 trash barrels of trash. And there's a double unit, then next to it they have a recycling one, which isn't, you don't compact that one, but the trash one compacts, the other one doesn't. So the idea was to get one for either at the stores on the green or put it on the green itself. I've been trying to suggest, and I think we're getting some leverage on this now, to eliminate the trash barrels in front of the stores on Whitfield Street for a lot of reasons. But 2 of them that I think we're gaining some traction on is that, well, 3 reasons. One, I get complaints about them overflowing a lot in the summer, which that'll change because we're doing trash pickup. So that's going to change. It's not going to be contracted out. And but they smell. When you get in July and August, they smell. The smell goes into the restaurants, into the stores. And then in August, September, October, the bees are like all over the place and flies. And so is that the best impression we get to people walking on our sidewalks, walking by trash barrels that smell and have bees come, you know? So I'm suggesting that we just take those and just put them across on the green, which will be easier for our guys. For one thing, they don't have to go to one side of the street, the other side of the street. When they were doing trash pickup, they're all together. You know, I think people in Guilford are pretty good. They're not going to leave their water bottles and coffee cups on the sidewalk. If they see a trash barrel 30 feet across the street, I think that most of them are going to, I think they're going to go over there and do that and not leave them on the sidewalk. So I had suggested, let's try it. Try it for a month in the summer. If it doesn't work, we'll put them back. It's not a big deal. We can move them easily. So that's what a lot of what our conversation was about, but more specifically about this Big Belly. I think some of the merchants are willing to do the fundraising to purchase those. And again, it'll either be in front of the stores, or it'll be on the green. So that's something that we're looking into. Again, it won't be town money. It'll be the merchants helping fund that. The only other one I want to mention is I should have had her come tonight. Taryn Erb started as our new program coordinator last Tuesday, and she's been here a week, almost a week now. She came back the second day. That was good.
I saw she sent the letters out, the hire letters.
She sent them out, yeah.
Yeah, she sent them out, yeah.
Yeah, she actually was with us the week before. She finished her other job on Tuesday, May 22nd. That Wednesday night, the next day, she was here for our staff training for the aquatic and camp staff. And so she had a little part of that. Of course, she had been part of that for years, being a camp director for 4 or 5 years, and camp staff for like, I think she worked 8 or 9 years at camp. So she's now with us full-time, and I think she'll be a good addition to the department. I thank Judy for sitting on the team when we did the interviews, and we had 18 or 20 applicants. I think we interviewed 8, I think, Judy, 8. And she rose right to the top, and she started.
She did a very nice job.
Yeah.
She's like, just proved herself.
Yeah.
She's not kidding.
Right. Big kid.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's other stuff in my report you can read if you have any questions on it, but I want to at least point those 2 things out.
Mark on his report.
Great. Nothing on your report, but it's not the first time I commended you and your crew, but I was down at Jacobs during the Memorial Day weekend. I mean, you guys got that place looking unbelievable.
I was going to comment
on Tony's so
report.
Nice.
The guys did a great job down there, really did.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
The green and Jacobs looked beautiful for Memorial Day.
Yeah, it was spectacular. It's beautiful.
I actually had somebody emailed me complimenting how beautiful the beach looked.
Everything. I mean,
Memorial Day weekend.
It looked like a movie set.
It was nice.
Yeah.
And the grass was nice and green. You know, the weather helps. Our guys did a great job.
Yeah.
It was nice when you have a little rain and the grass looks nice and green. And
But then you have to get rid of all the weeds.
right. Yeah.
I did a good job on that.
And I have to say, a lot of the weeding that was done, like on the islands in the parking lot, we actually contracted Madison Earth Care to help us with that. So some of that was, we thank them for some of that too. They helped us.
Yeah, I say keep the potholes, slow people down.
Yeah. They're the opposite of speed bumps, right?
Yeah.
Speed divots. It's kind of like Mark when he plays golf, leaves those big.
Anything else? Move on to Tony's report.
Yeah, well, I think we highlighted, I was going to highlight anything on there that had to do with the green and the beaches. And the benthic blankets, we put those in, took them out at Lake Quanapog to keep the weeds down there, in the swim area. We added sand there. We contracted with, we did the work, but we ordered the sand from Gateway Terminal, which is where we get it from periodically when we need it. It's kind of nice beachy type sand. And our guys spread it though when it came. We got that done right before Memorial Day weekend. You might notice the planters too. The planters at Jacobs Beach, Tony did that. He went and got flowers, put those in there. And the guys added the flowers under the, around the flagpole up at Quanapog. So all part of the beautification. We, some of the extra things that the guys do, they're not just mowing and lining fields, and it's just, you see Tony's report every month, you see what else the guys do.
Were they happy with taking the blankets out at Quanapog? Were they as effective this year?
Well, they normally are. I mean, I haven't heard, I was there during about half of it, and then I had to leave when we were taking them out, but I asked the staff from the Agricultural Experimental Station to kind of survey it and let me know, which I haven't heard anything yet from them, but I assume they're good. We'll know better really when we get toward the summer, because even if they're there, they'd just be little shoots right now anyway. But they've been very effective.
Yeah, I had no problem with it.
It's labor intensive, but it works.
I had somebody ask me about Lake Quanapog and the beach, and she said, it's such a small beach, can they put more sand to make a bigger beach? But you put more sand, it sounds like.
Yeah, you can't go into the water with it. It does seem, from the fence, it seems narrower than it used to be, the depth of the beach. I think the lake has been pretty high with all the rain we've had. It's made a big difference. We're the amount of rain, we're way over what we normally are for this time of year. But I think that's part of it. But yeah, we can't do anything. We can't add sand in the water to make the beach bigger. And we can't go the other way because then you're on Route 77.
How about, not widthwise, but lengthwise?
Well, there's a stream just on the other, to the right side of the fence.
Okay.
It's not really a stream, it's a drainage area as the, water drains from the park lot. It goes under the road and it goes in there. It's not a flowing stream, but it's a drainage ditch. So we wouldn't be able to fill that in.
But you did put new sand down.
We did.
At the beach, yeah. Good.
Yeah. Oh, and the other thing, and I think we talked about this when we walked Quanapog, Claire. So we're putting a chain up on Saturday nights. It's the only time we're going to close it. It's one thing we talked about in the past, I think, is that when we open at 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning, a lot of times the parking lot is already half full. People are getting in, they're not paying. They're already in there. So we're going to have our park ranger close that chain like he does at Jacobs and all the other parks. Only Saturday nights, or Sunday's the only time we think it's an issue, or right before big holidays. And so people actually can't get into the parking lot until the lifeguards come and then they open it up. Somebody asked, well, why don't we do that at Jacobs Beach too? It's different. Jacobs is a park. It's different. It's not the same as Quanapog. People only go to Quanapog really to swim. Jacobs, people go, they might kayak early, or go to the picnic. There may be picnics there before we open up. Officially, it's open, but the beach, the swim area is not. So it's different. Jacobs I view more as like Bittner. It's a park. People come for other reasons, not just for swimming. And but Quanapog, we know people get there early. They get in and they're not paying, and so it's not fair to people who bought beach passes and then the parking lot's already half full before we even open up. So we're only going to try it just on Saturday nights. We think that's the only problem would be Sundays, and we'll see how it works out. If it's an issue, we just don't put the chain up. Or if it's a bigger issue, we put it up more nights.
Right. We'll try. Anything else on Tony's? Moving on to Ellen's. Everyone knows the Summer Sizzler's coming up.
Yeah, June 15th. I know Connor's been working on that, and, Ellen mentioned the orientation was held on the 22nd, 23rd, and that went well. We had, I think, close to a record number of staff attended, which they're all supposed to be there anyway, but sometimes they're, if they're maybe not home from college yet, or maybe they have, if they're on a sports team at the high school and they got a game that night or whatever. I mean, you can't say, you got to miss your game, you got to be at training, so. But the percentage of people there was, I think Ellen said was the most that we've ever had. Matt came and spoke at it, I spoke at it. They had somebody from the police department, fire department. Dr. Nolfall comes and does some EpiPen training and some other training. And so it's always a good staff orientation. Oh, and the basketball league, I'll mention that we had no league last year. We've run in leagues for many years. Last year, we had one team sign up, and we have 7 for this year. And Ellen just sent the schedule out today, actually, and the league starts on Wednesday. Yeah, so we're glad we have it back. At the police department, yeah.
It's at the police department, that was my question.
Just one court. Usually we have to use 2 courts when we used to have 12 teams, but we're going to use just one court. I think there are 2 or 3 games a night. The schedule's worked out, so be on Wednesday nights. Thursday would be makeup night if there's rain. So we're glad that it's going again. It's not to the number of 12, 14 teams that we had at one time, but considering there were none last year, it's a start up again. So hopefully it'll regrow and get it going again.
Any other questions for Ellen's? Moving on to Terry's senior report.
I'll just mention a couple things on here. Annual seniors prom went very, very well. There were 80 people that showed up, and we highlighted here that Channel 3 was here because they were doing 20 towns in 20 days, and so they were doing Guilford that night. They were going to be they were on the green, but we let them know that the seniors prom was here, so they came and actually filmed some of the seniors prom and the seniors dancing, and actually the reporter from Channel 3 was right there in the mix. She was dancing and on film too, so. That's great. We got some great publicity from that all over the state. And then just coming up next Friday is, next week is this week. It's Friday. It's June, isn't it? The Strawberry Social at Jacobs Beach. That's always a big turnout for that. We usually have about 100 seniors come down for that. So you can see very, very active June. You look at the whole list there of about 12 or 15 events coming up and trips.
Is the Boy Scouts... aren't they on the green?
They were last week.
They were yesterday.
They were yesterday.
Strawberry Festival was yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any questions for Terry's?
I do have one question. The 21st, Good Acoustics, is that an outdoor concert?
Which one, the 21st? Oh, no, yeah, that's somewhere else. It's not here. That's a trip. It's got to be. Yeah, what is that? Because we have our summer solstice picnic at the same time with Brian Gilley doing the history of rock and roll. Quite frankly, I'm not sure. That's a trip somewhere.
Okay.
It's not real Simon and Garfunkel and James Taylor.
Oh, no. I would assume that. I didn't know if that was just an outdoor concert.
Yeah, Simon and Garfunkel no longer together, right?
Not for about 40 years.
They were reuniting just for us.
Oh, right, yeah. Do you have
that's a trip somewhere. Quite frankly, I'm sorry, I don't know where that one is.
Do you have the concert schedule for the summer?
We do. Do I have it in my head? I can tell you our first one is July 7th. It's CJ West and Downtown Train. This year our theme is Woodstock because it's the 50th anniversary of Woodstock. This is the first time we've done a concert that early in the year, July 7th. The next one, the 28th, that's Leaf Jumpers. They're going to do Woodstock 99, doing all songs from there. And then
August 4th is the 1st through the 4th is Shakespeare.
Shakespeare. And then the week after that is,
Who's next?
I believe, Santana. And then or is that Who's Next?
Yeah, that's Who's Next on the 11th. And the 18th is
Santana, Malargo was Santana. And the last one, the end of August, is Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Those are all bands that played at Woodstock. They're tribute bands, but we've had the Who's Next, and we've had Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young in the past. They were absolutely phenomenal. Really, really good.
So the August 11th, 18th, and 25th.
Yeah.
I'm not quite that senior yet. I'm hanging on
Rick,
to
is
my
there
youth.
anything you want to highlight on Todd's update on the building?
Well, the drinking fountain, actually, you'll notice it's down. He put in there, it was installed. It was leaking today, so it's the new kind where you can fill a water bottle in it. So you can put, well, that's not a water bottle, but if you empty that, you can fill it. But we found today there was a leak, and we think there's something in the fountain that was leaking, so we're trying to track that down with the supplier that we bought it from. The carpet was a little wet today. One of the seniors pointed it out to me, and we went and looked at it. The other thing, the building exterior, the garden in the courtyard right out here, Todd planted tomato plants out there, some pepper plants. I think there's some basil there. So we got some of the little cherry tomatoes and plum tomatoes and so on, and hopefully we'll have some of those available for the seniors when we serve lunches. That's part of the salad right there. And Todd he's making a recommendation. We have to start replacing some of these tables, and I'm seeing I got a nice big chunk right here. Some of them are starting to get a little worn. So just like we bought some chairs recently, we might want to think about getting some more of these tables. And maybe these we would use more for like things we do outside that we haul to the green or whatever, keep the newer ones, the better ones in here. They get banged up, they're used a lot, set up and broken down multiple times every day. So we'll stay tuned on that one, but we've got to start thinking about getting some.
Okay. Any questions on the reports before we move on?
No.
Okay. Reports of commissions and staff representatives to commissions. Standing Field Committee.
Regretfully, the Standing Fields Committee changed their date because they didn't have a quorum on the night of May 20th, and they rescheduled it to Tuesday, the 28th of May, and I was unable to attend.
Yeah, actually, there was not enough people able to come, so there wasn't a meeting anyway, so you didn't miss anything.
Okay, so there was no quorum for the 28th as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So, just for an aside, I was talking to Rick earlier this evening. It'll come down. You want to wait till the synthetic, till unfinished business, or you want to tell them? We believe that the synthetic turf field up at the high school will be ready by July.
By when?
July.
It looks good.
Yes.
They're making good progress. We have weekly meetings out there. We have one this Thursday, and we have one last Thursday. We meet every week with the architect, Paul Schmidt, John Kennedy from the Fields Committee, myself, and the contractor. And then Cliff Gurnham is usually at the meetings too. And so the progress is good. They're really working hard to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
So people are itching to play on that field, and it'll be ready as soon as it's done.
It'll be like the floodgates open up, and they'll be on that 24/7.
Well, considering the number of, just from a personal standpoint, through the month of May, when I was assigned to officiate games for sports and here in Guilford, I had more games canceled than I did officiate. Yeah. So the opening of the new high school turf field will take away some of that pressure and allow more teams to play more frequently than they had in the past. And it wasn't just the games that I did for soccer, it was also lacrosse, it was also just even to go out there and practice, it was very difficult because of the amount of rain that had tortured our fields. We always asked for rain, but now we had just a little too much to handle at one time.
Okay. Green Committee?
I don't think any updates. I think I reported at the last meeting that they're looking at revising their or creating a schedule for allowing monuments or plaques or whatever on the green. Kind of looking a little bit at what our policy is for the parks, and so Jerry Silbert is writing that up, and they're fine-tuning that. And they did approve in September is the Performing Arts Festival, and they're going to be having a tent on the green with some events for the Performing Arts Festival. And so they ultimately it's approved by the Board of Selectmen, but the Green Committee was okay with it.
And that's when they have things here too. It's
I
like
think they have-
different locations.
Yeah, they have a lot of different venues, a lot of the churches, schools here, some barns, some of the venues on the green, I think, or Marketplace, I think some of the businesses on the green are having some activities. But yeah, it's, I feel like the number is something like 50 different performances. It's a lot going on over a 3 or 4 day period. They really have quite a schedule.
I'm next, land acquisition, nothing to report.
I do have a question about that. I had read in the newspaper that Gary McIlerney is doing a inventory of the current Guilford structures that the town owns. And I remember that I did about 4 months ago, I had made a suggestion about possibly looking into the automobile dealerships that have been abandoned at the end of exit 56. 56? 57. 57, at the end of 57.
Yeah.
Is there any type of, what's the word I'm looking for, way to get some synergy among that, or?
I did bring that to them.
Okay.
When we were talking, maybe it was our last meeting or the meeting before. They did take it into consideration. They did look at it. But the things that they were thinking about it, how it would be used, it wasn't a big enough space. But it's definitely, something that they're keeping on the table because there are plots of land around it that could possibly be purchased as well to make it bigger, to use it for what they were looking for.
You mean the towns?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because it just seems like, rather than building a brand-new structure for our parks and our equipment, there's existing bays and office space already there.
One of them said that the garages that are there, the doors weren't big enough for the trucks and stuff that the town has, but again, that it wasn't off the table because it's still there. Nobody's looking at it, but there is a plot of land next to it that they could maybe talk to get, because they didn't feel that it was a big enough piece of land to purchase for the uses that they would use it for.
Okay.
Because of the space that they have now. But yeah.
I like your suggestion for indoor pickleball courts.
We have the opportunity there. Just make sure there's no, pits in there that they use to change the oil.
Yeah.
They have to be filled in.
That would be fun. All right, so splash pad we've already done. Community center improvements we kind of did with Todd, unless there's anything. Roof is all set.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's off the list now.
Roof is off the list?
We don't have to talk about that anymore. All right. Unfinished business, disc golf course. It was on your report, Rick, that the tournament was held.
Yeah.
And it had 49.
49 people, and there were a lot of positive feedback from the people who played. Craig, our designer, did move some of the baskets based on comments from the people who played. And that's exactly what his intent was, to get input from others besides himself that, plays a lot. There were some professional level players and, recreational players, all varieties there. The feedback we got, people really like the challenge of the course. I think it's going to be an awesome course when it's done. It's not complete yet because, we didn't have the tee pads, and it was portable baskets. So now he knows where those baskets are going to go. He restaked where they're going to go. I actually sent an email out today to the Eagle Scout, assuming the finals are coming up like next week. So nothing's going to happen until after June 14th, I think, at this point. And so we're just working on trying to get the baskets in as soon as we can. And we have an old container that's in that parking lot. When we did the walk, you saw that there at Bidder. We're looking to move that to the high school for some other purposes, but for now, Tony and I talked about this today. If we can store the baskets in there, then the Boy Scout can have access to them when he's able to go up and start doing the work. We'll give him a combination to it or whatever. He can get in there and get what he needs. And so we'll once we get that, know when he's ready to go, we'll do that. We'll move everything there. So that's the first thing. We get the baskets in. People can still play without the tee pads. Baskets are kind of more crucial to get them in. And then throughout the summer, we get the other two scouts up there to do the tee pads. Craig really wants to be there to meet with them, to give them some instruction on how to build those. Baskets are, instructions right there with the basket. You dig a hole, you pour the concrete in, put the pole in it, and wait for it to harden up and put the basket in. So, it's a little more complicated than that, but easier than the T-pads. So we're on a roll here, and it is starting to get overgrown already, just, a lot of ferns and little undergrowth. I mean, that's where we need the volunteers. They're going to have to start stepping up. I just had an email tonight from somebody that saw that it's getting ready to be open, and he wants to volunteer. What can he do to help out? So I think once it's open, we're going to get a core group of people that are going to have to be there to help with it, because right now we don't have that. It's been the Boy Scouts, really, and some of our staff going around the weekend to help out. And Lawrence helping. So, and Todd and me. And that's kind of been the committee as much as far as it's gone for a lot of this weekend work. But we'll get it done. And the good thing is that people who play in that tournament think it's going to be a real awesome course.
That's good.
Yeah.
And they weren't all from Guilford?
No, there were a good number from Guilford. There were people in New Jersey, Massachusetts, all over Connecticut that came and played, Fairfield. Tara's nephew was there. He's the one that actually designed the new logo for it. That's on the disc. I should have brought one up. I have a couple in my office. And they thought it was a great course. Good.
Any questions for Rick on the golf course? Okay. Synthetic turf. We heard that's hopefully going to be ready for July. Anything else? Okay. Upper Cox Field. So we have control of it now? Or do we still have to go?
I don't know if it's officially been approved by the Board of Selectmen, but they want us to come with them. We have to rename it. If it's separated, if it's a park and it's separated from the school, the Cox Field has to come off the name.
Right.
So we have to come up with a name for it, and Rose and I and Claire, we talked about, not coming up with a name tonight, but for everybody to kind of think about it. And we need to go to the Board of Selectmen and recommend a name for that park. And just simply, Matt Hoey just suggested, what if we just call it Dunk Rock Park? I mean,
Or that or 3 Mile Course.
something, something simple like that. In the future, if we want to name it after somebody, who had a big part of soccer or lacrosse, you change it. It's a lot easier to change that than it is to name it for somebody and then try to come up with a different name.
Yeah, it should be a thoughtful process.
Right,
yeah.
right.
It would be easier for, again, out-of-town teams that are coming to visit and play on the field if we use the name of the street that it's on as the official name of the course. Either 3 Mile Course or Dunk Rock would be more beneficial for the folks that are coming from out of town, because they can find it on their
Somebody may
GPS.
spend a long time trying to find
Well,
fields without,
Well, I talked to Anthony about that too,
Yeah.
regarding Bittner Park, because the sign that we have for Bittner Park right now, does not have our street address on it, so it cannot be found in GPS
Yeah.
by out-of-town people. And the sign itself right now really cannot be read by either coming north or south. So
It's kind of facing.
it's kind of facing
Yeah.
straight onto
Yeah.
Route 77. So if there's a recommendation that we can add a second sign, so at least one faces northbound and the other faces southbound, so that that park is becoming much more, it's becoming more used now. We have adult softball league there this year, people coming from out of town to play. Again, soccer, there were why I contacted Anthony is that we had a team that came in from Rochester, New York to play. And half the team couldn't find the park because they kept driving past it, because Bittner Park was not on their GPS.
Yeah.
So.
There's a similar thing in East Hartford, not Pratt Field, but there's another field complex, and it doesn't show up on GPS, so everybody's late for games
Right.
when they're going to it. So.
Right.
And I'm sure that happened here too.
So if we can just have a signature on the street, on the sign that says whatever the street number is for Durham Road or Route 77, I don't know what the official title is.
I think it's Durham Road.
I think it's Durham
It
Road.
is there, yeah. I'm not sure what the address is, because it may be on our electric bill. I can't remember if it is or it just says Bittner Park, but people call me every once in a while, and I say, it's Durham Road, Route 77. I mean, I don't know what the address is.
Really, Route 77, isn't it?
Yeah, but
Well, it's
there
Durham
is a
Road when
sign.
it turns, when it comes off of, what is this, Whitfield Street? So when it comes to the police station, that's listed.
It's
as-
Church Street.
That's
This
Church
is
Street.
Church Street,
Okay,
yeah.
so it's Church Street. So once you get past, right as you get to the tennis center, it becomes Durham Road.
Yeah, any of the houses up there are
Yes.
like 1255 Durham Road.
Right,
They're
so
not 77.
Right.
So I would assume that would be Durham Road as well.
I would just think that it would be better for our visitors when they're coming into town, if they can find the park by giving them the street address only.
Contact Google Earth and say, please put us on your system.
Yeah, well, the parks,
Parks Master Plan. First of all, I want to change the name of that. We have not met as a subcommittee to look at any other fields or parks since our last update. But I just want to reiterate to people that this is not, when we're going there and saying, you know, a splash pad could go up Bittner, a pavilion could go up Bittner, or whatnot. It's not that those things are necessarily going to happen there. These are just ideas of how we could use the land there. So just so people know that if we put a splash pad or a pavilion or a gazebo on this, whatever we call it, plan for these parks, it's not definitely happening. It's just thoughts of things, ways to use the land. So that's my only update. Rick, do you have anything else for that one?
That's it.
Okay. Beach hours. A conversation about changing Jacobs and Quantapug to the same hours because they currently do not have the same hours. We thought about maybe just starting with the weekends and keeping those the same because Quantapug is open later. So, any discussion, thoughts, feelings, concerns about changing hours at the beaches?
sounds logical to make it the same.
So the current hours are at Quantapug is 9 to 7:30, Monday through Saturday, and Sunday is 11 to 7:30, I think. That's Quantapug. And Jacobs is 9 to 5, Monday through Saturday, and 11 to 5 Sunday. So the hours are different. And I think what Ellen and I talked about this, so here's part of the things, the later time slots, it's not unusual that we have almost more staff than people swimming at Quantapug at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. And mostly, we're only talking about weekends right now, because right now we still have lessons in the evening at Quantapug, so we need to stay open later there anyway. But we thought about, for a trial basis, if we try just for the weekends, going until 6. So what that does is it does shorten the hours a little bit on a Saturday, but again, on Saturday morning, I don't think there's a lot of people there before 10 o'clock anyway. Well, they won't now, they can't if we put that chain up anyway. It does end it at 6. During the weeknights, I'd be a little bit more advocating for staying open a little longer on the weeknights, because if people get out of work, they want to go for a swim, we close at 6, they get there 5:45 or whatever, and now it's closing. But I also would like to give our aquatic staff a little bit of flexibility and to use some judgment that if there are 30 people on the beach and it's 95 degrees out, stay open a little longer. It's kind of the same thing when we're open for Mill Pond for ice skating. We say we close at 7 technically, but I always say to the skate guards, if there are 20 or 30 people there, stay open. We may only get 2 days, 4 days of skating. Stay open. I don't mean till 10, but stay open later. And if there are people there, if it's 2, 3, 4 people, then no. But there's a fairly good number of people, stay open longer. I think that we'd like to give that flexibility to the staff, for swimming too, the same thing. If we get that string of 95-degree days in August, and there's a ton of people there, don't just kick them off the beach, stay open a little longer. Again, you got to limit at some point. I don't think 9 o'clock, it's getting dark, and it wouldn't be safe to have people swimming at that point anyway. But if we set the hours at 6, and there's a bunch of people that then, okay, maybe so stay open till 7 tonight. We have to give them, they have to use some judgment, I think. But Ellen's point was, as Claire mentioned, it isn't consistent. Again, Jacobs, Quantapug, I look at them a little differently because Jacobs really is a park. It's a little bit different. And when we say close, Jacobs doesn't close at 5 or 6 o'clock. It's still open. It's just not staffed anymore.
Yeah.
Lake Quantapug is closed, and the gate's locked. Nobody should be going in there and swimming. Again, we treat that a little differently. There is an underwater ledge that drops off to, it could be 6 feet deep, and it drops off to 20 feet. Mm-hmm. Our lifeguards know where that is. And somebody who doesn't know that and can't swim it could be a tragedy. We
I
don't want
think
that
it's
to
worth
happen.
it to have it staffed, you know,
Yeah.
people are gonna go there anyway, you know,
Yeah.
they're gonna go in whether or not it's locked or,
Mhm.
you know, from a liability standpoint, I think you're better off doing that, keeping it open.
I like the idea, I mean, if we change it, I would start, like you said, on the weekends only, but to this summer, use the summer to track and get some
Right.
information and data about
Yeah.
who's there. 'Cause I mean, I'm there pretty regularly at night, and I'd say it fluctuates.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends. We can go there for an entire week and the beach is dead, which is awesome, I love it. But then we go the following week and everyone's back from vacation and it's
Yeah.
packed,
Yeah.
and it'll be packed till 7:30.
Right.
So, I mean, it's hard to gauge, but I think taking a year to figure it
Weekend
out.
nights too, is it, or more weeknights when you've been there?
Both.
Yeah,
I mean, if it's a really gorgeous weekend, I mean, you can't go to Lake Quannapock.
yeah.
Do we have a sign on the gate of Lake Quannapock that gives the hours?
Mhm.
Yeah,
You
and
do?
the
Okay.
sign clearly says when no guards on duty, beach closed, no swimming.
Okay.
It's clear, I mean, it's.
And
it's-
have
it's
we looked
obvious.
at adding, I know when we took our walk up there, we looked at, because they walk around to the grassy area and sometimes climb
Yes.
over. Do we have a better system of,
Yeah.
or a net that's like more secure that's connected to the fence?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right, I mean, we've got to fix the net that's there anyway, but it's a black portable net that goes up that's,
Because, I mean, we have kids that go from the beach to that side because their parents are paddleboarding, depending on who's knocked it down or at what part of summer it's.
Can we just extend the chain link fence itself, rather than using a net? Because I think the chain link would be much more of a deterrent.
it will, yeah, but you know what, I mean, how far do you go? You know,
Right.
because if we extend out 10 or 15 feet, they're going to walk around it. No matter what we do, they're going to get around it, I think. And if we go with permanent fence, I mean, we could do it, but I think we'll have to go to Wetlands Commission, we'll have to go to Planning and Zoning. The net is just, you know, banged into the ground with some stakes, and it's temporary, so it's not, you know, we don't need further approvals for that, I don't think. But, you know, people want to get in, they're going to, no matter what we do, they're going to do it. And, but we, you know, I think from a liability standpoint, we make it very clear the beach is closed. If somebody walks around and, you know, there's a, you know, bad thing happens, we did everything we could that's reasonable to keep people out of there, other than putting a fence across the lake, you know.
But, so we talked changing the hours, we're just tweaking the hours, it's not like we're increasing the cost or anything like that.
No.
We're actually, we would be decreasing because we'd be taking.
Yeah, so I would just say leave it up to Rick and, I mean, you know, right?
Yeah, we want to make sure you're okay with it though, because, you know, we don't want you guys to get calls, hey, wait a minute, they used to be open until 7:30, they're closing at 6 now. I think right now, we're just trying it on a weekend. Weeknights, we're still going to stay, we're going to keep Quannapock still is going to be open 9 to 7:30, Monday through Friday. But we're talking about changing, if we're going to change Quannapock, we might as well make Jacobs and be consistent with it, staff it 10 to 6. Again, at Jacobs, nobody gets kicked off the beach, people are there. If it's low tide, nobody's swimming anyway, but, you know, that changes from, you know, week to week what the low tide is and high tide. But it does provide a little consistency. Can we ever make it 100% consistent? I don't know. They're two different areas. They're different. I'm not sure we have to make them consistent, but I think on the weekend, to give it a try, I think it makes sense to try to do it. And we would make that effective when we open full-time in 2 weeks. Right now, we're only open noon to 5 at either beach anyway on weekends until school's out, and then we open full-time after that.
Do you have any comments on that one? You good? I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Okay.
Okay. So we'll try 10 to 6 when we open full-time.
And that's Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay. Trash truck, updates.
Update, it's ordered, and it's the Perkins unit, which, if you remember, right, that's the one that we're going to get that'll fit on the back of one of our pickup trucks or dump truck. We don't need an extra truck or anything, we have it. That we're supposed to get this week, and that's the one we're going to use when we start taking trash over after July 1st. We're going to use that for recycling. We'll have that, like I said, this week. The trash truck is on schedule, on target to be here by mid-July. So we'll have to do a couple weeks. We'll have to just figure out how to do it with the little unit. Just do a little extra labor for the couple weeks, but it's just the way it's going to work out. But I'm happy we're going to have it by mid-July, because as you all know, we ordered a pickup truck to replace one back in November, and still haven't seen it. So
Have you made any headway?
Yeah, we have. We went with a different company. Actually, it's coming tomorrow.
Good.
We ordered it last week, and we're getting it tomorrow. The other company was going to take 10 months. Yeah.
Same truck?
No, it's actually a little different. It was one they had on the lot, and they were able to do it under state bid. So it's costing a little more than what was originally budgeted for it. It does have some bells and whistles we didn't need, but they have it, and they said we can do this on state bid, and you can get it. So we put the purchase order in Thursday. It's being delivered tomorrow. So it's nice when things are efficient.
Yeah, hey, Rick, have you looked into like the garbage cans themselves, like to make it idiot-proof? You know, what goes, if you look at down a little bit, but
That's
it's like
next on the agenda.
Oh, is it?
Actually, well, it doesn't say anything about idiots, but.
Yeah, but it's just like, it's confused, like, what, I mean, to make it, to force people, because most people just, they don't care, they're gonna throw it in any barrel, to make it, force them to put recyclables in recyclables, the garbage goes in the garbage. You know what I mean, I saw something, I don't remember where it was, but they had like a black plastic pipe, you know, so here's the can, there's a black plastic pipe, so the only thing you really, I mean, of course you get garbage, but it just tells you, okay, there's where the bottles and the cans go. I mean, to make it where, so you don't have to trash mixed up with the recyclables and.
They have, like, people don't know that you have to empty it. Like, you can't put a paper coffee cup in the recycling bin if it still has coffee in it.
I know.
And they don't get it. So then it all ends up, everything that's been actually recycled in there is garbage now.
Yeah.
Yes. I am the trash police at work, and I have signs on, we have a regular dumpster and a recyclable dumpster. And I swear to God, they cannot read the fact that they cannot put styrofoam in the recyclable bin. And I have to fish this stuff out, because otherwise, you're right, we get charged a different rate by the hauling company for a contaminated load of cardboard versus regular trash.
What I'm saying is, forget about the signs, no one reads them. What I'm saying is, without having to read any signage, you're gonna say, okay, this goes, garbage goes here, and the recyclable goes here. Because, let's face it, no one reads signs or.
I have seen those, doesn't matter, they lift the top up and shove it in there.
They'll put a lock on it, so where they can't get it open. I mean, you know.
Well, so we looked at a lot of those options, and so that's next on the agenda, I was going to tell you. And so I went to the Board of Selectmen this morning, because they had to approve, we got quotes from 4 companies. I solicited 5, we got quotes from 4. And they approved it this morning, but there was a lot of discussion about what we're talking about right now. People aren't really good at recycling. I think at home, people are pretty good about it. You know, when you go to the transfer station, you know, you have your cans and your bottles and paper and newspapers, you dump them in that one single stream.
Single stream.
There is someone standing there policing
Sure.
everything you take out of your car.
Yeah, and
like a hawk.
very, very good, yeah. We don't have that at every trash and recycle barrel in town, but I can also tell you that people are not good about doing it in the parks. I walk around, I look at a lot of our recycle barrels, and there's stuff in there that
Does not belong.
it ends up being in the trash. But I think a lot of it is education. You make a good point. People don't know. Styrofoam cups, they're not recyclable. But you think that sometimes people put them thinking they're recyclable. I think even paper coffee cups, I was told, aren't recyclable. They're trash.
We've been doing recycling in this state for as long as I can remember. They know what to do. They're just being lazy about it. And I've talked to you about this before. I just don't think we should have the garbage bins at the parks to begin with. Force them to take it home. We're just enabling them to be lazy. I'm sorry, folks, but that's how I feel.
And I think we've talked about that a lot since we've talked about us picking up the trash now. And we have removed a lot of the bins. When we looked at doing this, we said we were not going to put out as many as we currently have.
We have like 180, 190 between trash and recycling.
Currently.
And yes, and what we were looking to order is 116, 70 trash, 46 recycle. And what the plan is that with some of the old 55-gallon drums that we have, we'll reuse some of those for recycling. The trash barrels, you gotta have lids on them because you have to.
The animals.
Yeah. And the company that we're going with has all that. In the spec, I wrote out that they have to be able to withstand 30-mile-an-hour winds so the barrel won't tip over, the lid won't pop open. The company that we want to go with, they send me a report from a wind tunnel where they put them under 50-mile-an-hour winds, they didn't tip, the lid stayed closed. Especially at Jacobs, we got to have something like that. It's not going to be tipping over and blowing around. but the total cost is about $8,200. It's around there, maybe a little less. There was an estimate of the freight cost on that. And that's coming out of our program account. We always said, back when we did the budget, that we're going to have to buy some barrels, and we are buying some, but we can still use maybe 50 that we already have. And I think we're going to find, once we get these, unless we go with John's idea of not putting any trash barrels out, that we're going to, eventually, we're going to probably want to replace all the old 50-gallon, the ugly round barrels with these nice ones. Or we.
I think if we're going to start anywhere not having them, we shouldn't have much happen. Seems to be the problem, having structures there that are anything that's not natural. I mean, you know, that might be a good pilot place.
There are some places we're going to have to cut back.
Yeah, that's a good pilot place.
But even with this, we were planning on cutting back the number at the high school. I think we had 25 or 30 of them at the high school, but they're all over the place. You know, you got to have a whole bunch, especially in the fall. You got the concession stand there with all the trash from that. You got to have them by the tennis courts, by all the fields, the baseball field, softball field. I mean, they're the material field. They're everywhere. And Adams, there's a bunch at Adams. I think probably 15 or 16 at Adams. Again, by the tennis courts, baseball field, basketball courts, Little League fields. They're scattered
I know
around.
we're saying we're cutting back, but, you know, maybe over the year, we can watch to see
Right.
how much garbage we're picking up in
Right.
certain locations. Is it possible to remove some more?
Exactly. Now that
So,
we're
like,
going to be doing
John's
it, we
point,
can monitor it.
slowly
Yeah.
get rid of some
Right.
in some areas and maybe have none, like Susan says, at Chaffinch or
Right.
somewhere else that's not.
Right.
I mean, there seems to be support to keep Chaffinch natural, and, you know, that's a good place to pilot it.
And we can have a sign that says, you bring it in, you take it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's what you do camping.
Right.
And I just want to go back to the trash truck that, you know, that Rick had said it was going to take more man hours for a little while till we get our big truck. They did look at other avenues and asked if we could go on a week-to-week or a month-to-month basis with our current trash pickup, and it was a ridiculous cost. So we still are saving money, even having our guys do a little extra run to pick up the garbage until we get the big truck. So all avenues have been looked at and checked and made sure that we are still with what we said we were doing.
That's a good point. Just one other thing with the trash barrels, to your point, Lawrence, so one of the things that we talked about today at the Board of Select meeting, instead of just recycle, maybe instead of saying recycle, maybe it'll say bottles and cans only, something to that effect. So people then won't put the styrofoam cup in there. Hopefully, but you're right. Signs only work if people read them and abide by them. We know that in all the parks, where it says no golf, and people are hitting golf balls, there's a sign right there. You know, we know that people don't abide by signs.
Keeping it as simple as possible, because I know when I see, like, I go to places and there's like all these signs, I don't even know what to do, like where to put it all.
Well, this will be on each barrel, because in the specs, I said they have to, it's called hot stamped. It's like melted into the barrel. So our logo will be on each barrel, Parks and Rec logo will be on there, not in color probably, but it'll be the logo. And then I think I spec'd out on the two sides and the top, trash, you know, or recycle, or maybe we'll say bottles, cans, make it very clear. So what happens with newspapers? I don't know. Hopefully people know, yeah, you can put newspapers in there, you know, and we don't have a problem with that. If somebody's reading the Courier, they're at Jacobs Beach, they throw the paper in I mean, that's all right. But if they start taking bucket loads of newspapers, then we know people are being dishonest, and instead of bringing them to the dumps, they're too lazy to go there. There's no charge for recycling anyway. They're dumping them in our stuff. But we'll and I have the company we wanted to contract with to do this. I talked to them too to just let us know what other towns do. Does it just say recycling? Does it have the symbol? You know, I want to keep it simple, but keep it really clear, the point. And maybe bottles and cans is pretty clear. That's what goes in there. Don't put any cups in here. Don't put pizza boxes in it, or.
You can ask the Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts at all of our events over the summer to stand by them and say, no.
Yeah.
That doesn't go there.
Yeah.
You laugh, I did hire somebody to do that at our events. He's standing over trash.
If you gotta do what you gotta do. Gotta educate them somehow.
Community service hours.
Exactly. Those high schoolers need 30 of them.
Oh, so the barrels will be ordered. That'll take 4 to 6 weeks to get those too. So we may have to use those old ones for 2 weeks.
Any other questions on barrels and truck? Okay, Bittner Park Bridge Eagle Scout project, funding. So, it was brought up that question of, should we have this Eagle Scout do all the fundraising for this one? We asked for this project, so do we need to like rethink our policy if we're asking for a project to be done? Does the commission pick it up? Do we ask these guys to fundraise? Do we always vote and say, you know, you do the fundraising to a certain amount, if you don't reach that, we'll cover the rest? How we want to deal with this one, because this bridge is getting done, and he's willing to do fundraising, but how do we as a commission want to deal with going forward and with this project?
Diane's not here, but she and I can talk about what our sons have done with regard to fundraising for their programs, for their Eagle projects. The fact that he came here and presented the project, that is part of his fundraising as well. So even though he did not specifically ask us for a set dollar amount, his presence here he's asking us for help to contribute to the cost of this project. Now, going back in some of the notes that we had done, we have funded some projects in full. Yep. Others we have given him a stipend. So my suggestion would be to contact him, ask him what his budget is confirmed, how much he anticipates on raising privately, and that we would fill in the gap from that point on. Or we could give him some seed money, the opposite direction, say that we will give you a percentage of the total project, and then you're responsible for the rest. So either avenue is acceptable to scouting, because the scouting, what's the word I'm looking for? Management's not the right word, but their overseers expect them to do the actual part of the fundraising, whether it be, the only thing they can't do is they're not allowed to take it out of their own pocket.
Right, but we did check that, and that is not part of it now, right?
I think it's changed, yeah. My understanding from talking to a couple of the troop masters in town is that it used to be a requirement that they had to do fundraising. It's not a requirement anymore. It's not that they can't do it,
right,
but it's not required anymore. I would just like to suggest that, going to sort of this whole vein here, is that I think we've helped a lot of scouts, and sometimes we've helped cover the total cost. Sometimes they've done some of the fundraising for it. My suggestion, and just throwing it out, is that if it's a project that we've initiated, it's something we want to have done, we got to pay somebody to do it anyway. We're either paying somebody, or we're paying for the materials if our guys are doing it. Like boat racks at Jacobs Beach. I think all the boat racks, many of them down there were built by scouts. I think we covered 100% of the cost because we needed them. And right now we could use another because we've got 16 or 20 people on a waiting list who want more kayaks down there. I think like the gazebo, that was a suggestion by a scout. They were going to do the fundraising for it. It was not our idea to build a gazebo. It came from them. The Grass Island Shack was a scout initiated project. He raised all the money to do that. But we've asked this scout, we've said we need a bridge at Bittner. The T-pads, that's part of the project for the disc golf course. We're not expecting them to raise money for it. We already raised the money for it by the donations we got from all the businesses.
We just needed someone to make them.
Right. And so the bridge, we've suggested that, people have been walking over that stream for decades. It's not been a problem, but I can tell you the day we went out to the Wetlands Commission, there's no way you could have crossed that. It was after one of those deluges, and whatever stones usually you could walk across, they were totally underwater. You could not get across that. But it's different now. We are inviting people to Bittner Park to be part of an activity. I think we have a higher standard of care now than just people hiking through there. Now we're having a structured activity, a disc golf course, and we're saying, hey, come play disc golf at our park here. I think we have to make it safer. All the other streams have bridges over them. This is the only one that doesn't. And so I think it's something we've invited him to do. I'm just suggesting maybe the policy for the commissions, if it's something we've asked to have done, we look at more likely covering the total cost of it. If they want to do for some fundraising, they can, great. To John's point, maybe if he can raise a little money, whatever he doesn't raise, we cover the balance of it, which may be all of it, or it might be half of it.
Offer both routes, and then see what he would prefer, and if he's unable to fund it, then we would be generous.
I think he's willing to try to do some fundraising, but just looking for direction. Do we want him to, I think we want him to try it if he can, right? It's going to
Yeah.
help.
So we'll offer him the 2.
I mean, I think it's reasonable, like, if we're asking him to build it, that we should cover 100% of the cost. I mean, it's not only disc golf, everybody's gonna be using it.
Right.
So, I mean, if we need it, it's a safety issue, I've been there, it's a safety issue, then why shouldn't we cover 100% of it? I mean, why should he have to do any fundraising when we're asking him to do it? He could have said no.
Well, the thing that we have to look at ourselves is that all we're supplying is material. He's supplying labor.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
labor to us is 0.
Right.
So I say fund the whole, everything, materials. I mean, like I said, we're asking for it. We need it for, like I said, disc golf, hikers, whatever, and we're getting away cheap.
So if you all agree to this, then how about it sounded like he was willing to do some fundraising, because he asked me, is there a mechanism where the funds could come in here, and I talked to Mary Jane today about that. And yeah, we can do it through our program account. We can set up, we have a park improvements account in there anyway. It can run through that. So if he does fundraising, it can be made out to that account and then go back out from that account. It'll be earmarked just for that. So,
Is he already done, I assume he's already done fundraising for it?
no, I think he's willing to do some. And so he wanted to know, is there a mechanism in place where it can flow through? So I think, again, if you all agree with this, that we'll tell him that we will cover whatever he needs to have us cover.
Yeah, I think that's bingo.
Materials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Materials.
Right. And if he can do some fundraising, great. That helps us, not have to fund as much of it. But if he can't, then we'll balance, whatever the balance is. If the balance is 100% or 50%, we'll do it. That's fair?
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Okay.
Any other questions on that? New business, credit card, debit card payment at beaches. This is something new starting this summer.
We'd like to start at July 1st. There was a suggestion from Ellen and aquatic staff, and there's a lot of reasons for it. I've always been concerned about, especially at Quantapug, with our gate guard just kind of sitting off by him or herself in that little kiosk there, and there's cash. There's cash. You're a police officer. You can understand this.
Yeah.
And I'm just concerned that and the policy is they're not supposed to keep more than a certain amount. I'm not going to exactly announce what it is, but there's a minimal amount that they have to have for change, and the rest there's a safe that we have somewhere that can be locked up.
Cash is fraught with issues. I mean, in my own area, I'm not taking cash anymore. So for every purchase students make, they have to do it via credit or debit card. It's just easier to track.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it's just easier to track.
Yeah.
How would they do it though? Would they use Square? Would they use?
We're doing it now.
Yeah.
We've done it. We have there's a program on the iPhone, so we have a phone at both places, and there's a card reader thing that attaches to
the
that.
Square thing in the
Yeah.
top, yeah.
So we have that as an option, but we would like to make that be the only option.
I think it should be.
No cash, no checks.
That's what they do at the dump now. So,
Right.
yeah.
So we would make it in effect July 1st, so there's a grace period. I think there may be signs up already that we're thinking of going this direction. We didn't want to say we're definitely doing it, so
No, I
you
think
folks
you should.
agree to it.
Yeah.
And it'll give a grace period of time. And I guess the only thing else would be maybe a little leeway if, somebody shows up July 4th and says, oh, I didn't know, I don't have my wallet with, I brought some money, but I don't have a credit card. I mean, we'll get a little leeway, but the intent is to eliminate, do away with cash. It might take more than a few weeks to get that message out, but as long as we go that
Maybe put a
direction.
sign there too.
Right.
As they're pulling up,
No cash.
no cash.
Well, we'll have that, we'll have the sign, we'll have it, we'll put it on the website, put it on Facebook, and,
still come in and buy a pack with cash.
yeah.
I think
Yeah, they can still buy it
there's
here.
going to be, I think there's going to be there will be those use case where, or an example where there's going to be someone that there are people in our community that may not have credit cards, and I know this has gotten some national press and attention in other some large cities that have tried to propose and moving
Yeah.
forward, and all their merchants take cashless.
Well, I think maybe you
not go
set the
over very well.
policy, and then if you need to do an exception, you do an exception. It's just somebody has to agree to it. You know, someone has to be like, you know, Rick or you know, Ellen or somebody, you know, has to
And
sign
you could
off
also
on it.
put it on the website
I just,
too.
just to be aware.
Yeah, no, well, that's a good point. I mean, but they, you know, they can still buy it online. They can do that now, which is credit card.
Or they can come in here.
They can come here, pay
Yeah.
cash for it. So what we used to do before we started selling them, we didn't used to sell beach passes at the beach at all. Daily fees, obviously, we had to collect, but beach passes, we made it more convenient by making them available at the beach, and that's good. People like that. And I tell you, we sold a lot. I think at Jacobs Beach alone on the Sunday of Memorial Day weekend, they sold 83 passes in one day. But what we used to do before that is we had the office open on the first 3 Saturdays in June from 9 to noon. So if somebody went to Jacobs, they would say, oh, the office is open, you couldn't go buy a pass there. A little harder if you're at Quantipi, it's a long way to come down and go back, but I think if it's the policy, we make it the policy, but sometimes you have to make exceptions, like you say, if somebody just doesn't have a credit card, then we may have to make
You
it.
should, though, like, give a grace period, then at a certain point go, that's it, no cash. You know, whether it's 6 months, one season or something, I mean, because, I don't know, that's gonna get abused too.
Well, I was gonna say, you have it on the website too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the signs will be there for now, at least the grace period for now is until July 1st. So, you know, we're open part-time, just weekends now, we're open full-time June, yeah, day after
I just
school.
think it's maybe a little bit, maybe for the first year or two, whatever, it's a training thing, right?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
to ensure that the people that are, our attendants, that are aware of, like, how do they handle that situation,
Right.
that's all.
But as Suzanne mentioned, you know, you get this, I think you said, at the dump,
Yeah.
you have to, they only take credit cards, or
Yeah,
debit, you
they're
can't
not making
pay.
any exceptions there.
Yeah.
So,
No.
yeah.
But this is a recreational facility, we wouldn't want to be welcoming, have people come in and use it,
Right.
so it's a little different, but, you know.
What, they're not welcoming at the dump?
Oh, yeah, they are, the guys are good there, they're great.
Are they ever in?
Okay, so you,
Need to interrupt, but you think there's a lot of lawsuits about this in the country right now. I don't mean to interrupt, but it's to be monitored right now.
I'm just curious, lawsuits based on,
Because not everybody has access to having plastic money, to having credit cards.
Oh,
and
okay.
debit cards. So it's a whole, you know, depending on who it was, you didn't let in, you know.
well, that's
It's
interesting,
not that
yeah.
I would have,
That's kind of what Mark was saying.
yeah, that's what you're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
I mean, I think you'll have more of a question in Lake Quantipoc than you would down here at Jacobs. I mean, it's out in the middle of nowhere,
Right.
so like, I mean, I don't know. And knowing the clientele coming there all the time, sometimes it's teenagers, sometimes it's, you know, out-of-towners. So, but I think as long as you have signs between now and before you're cutting it off, and I mean, it's used, I mean, that place is packed.
Or
all
we
the
can
time.
also encourage them, come here and get a
Yeah,
beach
right.
pass,
I mean,
or
I
get
don't
it
think
online.
I don't think it's discriminatory if you're also giving the option to come
Yeah.
here and pay in cash,
Right.
you know?
Because you can even buy online and send a check too, I think, can't you? Can't remember if you can do that. I think you pick it up here if you're using a check.
Yeah, or, yeah, right, yeah, or if we mail it, if they paid by credit card or
Right.
something, we mail it to them. Which is the slowest option, because if they want it quick, if they go online Thursday or Friday, and they want to go to the beach Saturday, they're not gonna have a beach pass.
Right.
We
I
have to
think
mail
just
it.
using discretion, you know, I
Yeah.
think even with the guards, just to say, you know, if somebody has cash right now, we've just changed the policy. You know what, call whoever, you know, call Taryn, you know, see what she says.
How much is it pass now? I can't remember.
$10 for over 55,
And
Guilford,
military.
20, and military, 20 for non-residents, and then, I think it's, I forgot, it's either 35 or 50, I think it's 35 for non-seniors. Yeah, and then double for non-residents,
Would
70.
would it be inappropriate for me to ask what they do with the money on the weekends? Do they lock it? Do they
Yeah.
bring it here?
No, we have, at both locations, we have a safe, it gets locked in.
Good.
And then it comes here on Monday.
Good. Okay.
Is everybody okay with that?
New business B, tent rental for Jacobs for the shade structure. It was in your packet. This is phase 2 of the boardwalk at Jacobs. They've reached out to numerous retailers for the rental of the tent. Originally in the plan it was to be a permanent structure, kind of like flag-like, but that was not approved in the original process, correct? So now they're looking at using a temporary shelter just for the summer months. So it would be a rental. And Rick, you want to take that part away?
Yeah, and there's only one company. I put Ellen on this task, and she reached out to 3 or 4 companies. Yeah, here's the letter. 1, 2, 3, 4. The only one that was either interested or submitted a quote was this Abbey tent. Some of them are a little nervous doing anything near the beach because of winds and so on.
I work with them, Abbey Tent. They're great.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They were the only one that was willing to do it. And, we found out, so one company we spoke with actually said that they can't anchor into the sand. But they can, because we checked with our former building inspector, who just recently retired, and he said, yeah, there are like corkscrew type anchors, augers, that is acceptable by state code.
Did you guys reach out to Newport?
No.
Tent? They do all of Penn State Yale. They do it for commencement.
Where are they located?
They're out of Newport, but they're down here all the time.
Huh.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, we went to General Tent, Hall's Tent, General Rental, Taylor Rental, and Abbey.
Yeah, Abbey does our chairs and Newport does our tent. So they're really good. So they're definitely. I have a contact.
If you can give, we can maybe at least we'd be good to get a second quote because all we got is the one.
Yeah.
But obviously, includes insurance, and we told them that if we get a big windstorm coming up, you're responsible to take it down, not us.
Yeah.
I mean that's one of the advantages of renting it. But I think we in the spec we said that it was from I don't know, mid-June I think through Labor Day probably.
That's Ellen who's running that?
Ellen's working on that, yeah.
Ellen's working on it.
Yep.
Mid-June till when?
I'm going to say Labor Day weekend.
August 30th.
To August, before Labor Day. Or you're going to include Labor Day?
Or 31st.
Or right before Labor Day, yeah, that's right.
So Rick, that's ballpark it, that's $7,500 for the season.
$7,400 for the season, yeah, yeah.
And this would come out of program?
Yes.
What do you have a size?
20 by 30.
20 by 30.
Right. We didn't, it's a frame tent. We didn't want to cover the entire, it'd be really expensive to try to cover that whole platform there because that's 26 by 66. That'd be big. That'd
So
be
I just
large.
did 100 by 50 tent. It's $18,000 with a frame tent. So
Wow.
it couldn't be anchored. So,
Yeah.
but when you can anchor it, it's so much cheaper.
Yeah.
It's incredibly cheaper.
Right.
So, just so you know.
Yeah. Well, one thing, Will Thompson's involved with us here too, and he said that maybe there's a way we can anchor it to the platform
Yeah.
too. Because, I don't know with the guy wires or whatever, but that thing that's not moving anywhere.
Yeah.
That platform is so anchored with the diamond piers that they're called, that it's a concrete hub with pipes going, through it like this, angled down. And I mean, that it would take a major Noah flood to make that thing move.
Yeah.
We get that, we're not worried about it anyway.
Don't ask for
I'm
what
not
you
asking for
don't
anything.
want. Don't tempt us, yes.
But,
that's right. Thank you.
But anyway, he thinks that because that's so stable, that we can a tent could be anchored onto that too, if they were concerned about doing it into the sand.
I mean, it's not something we have to rush into. Let's say for whatever reason, we could just wait till next year, right? I mean, it's not,
Well, we'd like to have, it'd be great for camp. If we can have that for camp, it would be a real benefit for
When
the
does the
camp.
game start?
June 18th, yeah.
June 18th.
Yeah, so not for another meeting, but I think it's another space that can be rented out, like the 2 pavilions are. It could be another spot that people, and I'll tell you, there's somebody with we have the new policy, no tents, pop-up tents, in the parking lots.
Yeah.
There was somebody that had a pop-up tent at Jacobs Memorial Day weekend, and they were right by that platform. That's where they set it up. They were on the beach. I let them, I said it was okay. I wasn't too concerned about it there because where they had it. It wasn't on the beach, but it was really not. It was at the platform. And I spoke with the people and said, we're actually talking about having a tent over this. Oh, that'd be wonderful. for shade, I think people would really love it.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Having it.
So do you need us to vote on this, or are you gonna call another?
Well, if you at least approve the concept up to that amount, if Suzanne's
it
got
to you
something
already.
that's,
Yeah.
you know, if we get a better price, then it'd be less than that.
Can we get?
I hate to say, but they did work with us a little bit on the pricing. Newport did let us actually use students to help them carry equipment and stuff like that to cut down on labor. So just to, you know.
Can we get a motion to approve at least $7,500 for a shade structure for the season at Jacobs Beach?
I make a motion to approve up to $7,500 for the tent rental at Jacobs Beach for this season.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then you'll get back to us and let us know if Newport was cheaper?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll tell my new Suzanne was doing it.
And then,
Sore throat, yeah.
quickly, 52 Church Street parking. Obviously, we are always running out of parking here. We were hoping when they purchased that would become parking for us. People are already using it as parking because we constantly have overflow here. So the idea was to maybe see if we could get stone put down there because they're parking right on the grass. So I don't know if you talked anymore.
Yeah, we're just looking to, it's not really under our jurisdiction, it's really still under the Board of Selectmen, that property. So I did ask the town engineer if she can work something with us to get that going there. We're not talking about any design or anything, we're just talking about put some stone down. And she said we really have to get Matt's approval or the Board of Selectmen's approval because again, it's under their jurisdiction, not ours.
Probably need the Historic District Commission too, because they rule on parking lots.
Okay, well, I didn't hear about that, but I heard we would have to go to
At
planning and
least
zoning, even
ask
just to
them.
put stone back there. I mean, planning and zoning has to approve it, so to do that, we need a site plan, so that's where we need a town engineer to do a site plan, and,
I'm only
it
amazed
just-
what Kathy has in her head.
I work for the Historic District Commission, so I'm watching you with an eagle eye.
we're trying to keep it simple, because people are parking there anyway,
I know.
and it could
For
be
a
mud.
safety reason.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they just want to cut it off. I mean, if they're not going to help us,
At
then
one
they've
point,
got
did
to.
you say the staff was going to be parking over there?
Some of us do. Yeah, Todd and I park over there all the time, every day. Yeah, I mean, we try to do that, and Terry parks over there sometimes, especially when we know there's a big event.
I park there occasionally.
Yeah, I saw you. But you weren't even coming here, you were walking to something else.
But you
Yeah,
park in
no,
the
it was the
existing,
wrong day.
you park in the existing parking lot.
I usually park on the driveway, yeah.
Yeah.
But there are, sometimes we have like a big sill program here, which is a senior event. And it's not unusual, almost every week, there's at least one day, there are 10 or 12 cars parked in the backyard over there.
Yeah, personally, I'm not a big fan of parking lots. You know, the town paid a lot of money for that, and I can't see extending a parking, you know, what's there is fine. But unfortunately, I mean, you know, there's a big event here, well, you're gonna have to park a half a block away, you're gonna have to park a block away. I mean, how many parking spaces are you gonna put here?
Well, actually, I think part of the main purpose for purchasing that was to expand parking
Was to
for us.
Really?
Yeah, because on any given day, not even counting who's parking there now, there are people parking on the grass, they're parking on what really should be the fire lane back here.
Well, the thing is, they shouldn't be parking there.
They shouldn't, but I mean, it doesn't say no parking, it's, you know, unless Charlie
Well, I
Hirsch
mean, that's
tells
common
us-
sense.
yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't, if you show up at your buddy's house for a party, you wouldn't park in his front yard if there's no
Right.
parking on the street. So my point being is that it's a nice piece of property, we spend a lot of money for it. You know, when you go to places, sometimes you have to park a half a block away, and it's,
Well, when you consider that there's a lot of seniors that come to use this parking lot, and it's hard for them to walk from a mile away.
I know, but I mean, how many,
Yeah,
then we have to do, you have to car people, you have to, I mean,
And the only other, like, as a parent that was using the preschool program here,
Always late.
I would come and not know that there was a SIL program or some big event here. So I would end up being 20 minutes late because people park all over here. They've taken the church, they've parked all at the top. So I've had to park at Pages and walk my baby up here, 2 babies, in the snow. And by the time I got up here, the class was over.
I know.
But I was like, but I didn't have warning that there was SIL. What are they going to call? every class and be like, hey, there's a cell program, get here 5 minutes early.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that you could literally knock that building down and you could put parking space there, it's gonna get filled up, no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
I just, I
Absolutely.
think it's a poor use of a footprint of
What are they
a
planning
piece of
on-
property.
What are they planning on doing with this?
They don't know yet.
Yeah, I don't think there's any.
Are they
plan for it yet.
maintaining it at all right now
No.
or anything?
No.
They're gonna use it. They might wanna do some preventative maintenance.
So that one's pretty much out of our jurisdiction,
Yeah.
but
Good.
it's known that we have parking issues and people are parking there already. Last thing before we adjourn is a request for a bench. It was in your packet from Christine. Miko. And they are not from here, correct?
I think
Well,
he
they're being
has family
homobilized.
that was from here,
Oh, they're getting ready to come to Guilford.
but I think he's from here originally, or his family is from this area. So he wants to be buried with his
Yeah.
elders.
So it's a pretty sad story.
It's
It is.
horrible, actually.
So it's a request for a bench. And pulling out our lovely bench.
The question I have here, though, and I read the letter, maybe I missed something, but, so it's not even a family member that's requesting it, correct? It's a friend. So my question is, we don't even, I mean, I assume that they check with the family, but there's nothing in here that says, you know, I'm doing this at the request of the family. Do you know, right? Am I missing something? It's just that, I mean, so you're having a friend request a bench, and we don't even know if the family wants a bench.
Well, we had
No,
that
it said-
before.
It said something about
Unless I missed
Jamie's-
something.
the only, living with the family in Philadelphia right now, the only last wish Jamie has had to be buried in Guilford with his elders.
So it's not a family member requesting a bench, and the person's not even deceased, right? If we, you know, approve a bench that we expect somebody that's done, I don't know.
Well, I think, yeah, I think this goes to what, kind of, almost like the discussion we had, a little different with the Boy Scout issue, is that, do we have a need for some benches somewhere? And if we
No.
do, here's someone that is willing to pay for one.
Maybe near the splash pad when we actually
Yeah.
get it going.
I know you had that list that you and Rose put together, Claire, of, I mean, off the top of my head, I think of, you know, maybe been there, I think there's only one bench there by the playground, I think, right now. But Jacobs, there are like 8. You know, just one thought, but I don't know.
Well, I think the green is, they've put a cap on theirs now.
Yeah, that's up to the Green Committee, yeah.
Right.
They looked at it too,
Just
and they said no.
recently, didn't they?
Yeah. We, according to what we looked at and agreed on, that we only need 3 more benches somewhere. One at Chaffinch near the entrance, like when you pull into the parking down closer. You know, like when you pull into the parking lot and park, well, if you can call it a parking lot. So closer to the marina side, that little grassy area.
I thought we had closed out Chapman.
I really do.
Not a stone bench. We were talking more Adirondack chairs or the other bench.
Type bench.
Yeah. Daniel Avenue Beach, one by the disc golf course entrance, and maybe at, like you said, down by the playground at Bittner. So,
Is the requester a Guilford resident?
No, the person who made the request?
Yeah.
I mean, to be
No, I
honest,
think she lives on Long Island or
I mean,
someplace.
I think we need to find out more
Yeah.
before we can say, yes, let's give them a bench and here's where it would go. Because it doesn't sound like we have enough information. We have questions whether who's the Guilford resident? Does this family even know that this is being requested?
You know, a request should come from a family member, right? I mean,
Or
Or-
close friend or,
yeah.
I mean, obviously it has some meaning to them that they would reach out and do this. That's, you know,
Right.
I'm erring on the side of, you know, I think we just need a little bit more information, you know?
So Rick, can we just request that we reach out and find out more information
So you want more of like a Guilford connection?
Yeah.
Yeah. More of a Guilford connection and more of if the family would be okay with us, you
Right.
know.
And, I mean, have they seen our policy and our form?
And
that they-
the cost of the, you know, I don't know if they realize what the cost of the bench, you know, or a chair or whatever.
Just to make sure that they have all the information as well. Any other further discussion on anything? Questions, concerns, comments? Hearing none, I'm going to say that we should adjourn. Can we get a motion to adjourn?
I make an motion that we adjourn.
Okay, it's 8:24. Can we get a second on that? Mark seconded at 8:24. So we will adjourn. Have a great day.
Oh, Matthew.
Just one.
Got it covered.